So thank you everyone for coming. We really appreciate it. My name is Myra Shake and I'm the Executive Director of CARE Austin. We want to start off today by, first of all, congratulating Bahia Maui and all of the state of Texas and all Texans for this great First Amendment victory. We're extremely excited with this outcome. We think this is a really important step for the First Amendment and protecting it in the state of Texas. And if you guys have questions for the legal team, please feel free to take the papers that are here. Their contact information is there. Unfortunately, they could not be here today because they had to be present for some other cases. But we really do want to make sure we thank Carolyn Homer, Gadir Abbas, and Lena Masri, as well as the entire CARE Legal Defense Fund. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Bahia Maui to make a statement, and afterwards she'll answer some questions.
Do you want to spell my name? Or?
Yes, please.
Bahia, B-A-H-I-A, Amawi, A-M-A-W-I. Thank you guys all for coming down here this morning. First, I want to start by thanking God, the Almighty, for helping me navigate through this challenging year and connecting me with CARE, Council on American-Islamic Relations, here in Austin and in National. Their work, effort, and passion for civil liberties is remarkable. And I also want to thank the many people on social media and the communities throughout Texas of all different faiths that supported me emotionally and physically. I wasn't the only one responsible for this work. This definitely was a united effort and a team effort. It's really hard to find words to express my emotions, which is really rare for a speech-language pathologist. But I'm extremely elated and content that Judge Pittman saw this bill similar to the almost 2 million people that viewed my story, that this is against free speech, against First Amendment, and it is unconstitutional. This is a huge win for all Texans and the First Amendment. It is our responsibility to fight, to protect, and preserve free speech for our children, similar to exactly that our founding fathers had envisioned. This law, House Bill 89, was nothing but a censorship law meant to silence Texans and punish them for expressing their political view. No Texan should be forced to believe in a political ideology or support a political view they don't necessarily condone. This is a clear message to all politicians that our communities are aware of their decisions and their votes. It's important for politicians to stand up for principles and values and to be on the right side of history. And fully recognize Texans should not be forced to take an oath of foreign country. Texan government should not be putting the interests of a foreign country over its own people. Thank you. I'll take any questions.
I got a couple, hold on.
Okay. You want to say something?
What did you feel when you heard the ruling?
Yeah. Well, I was driving, taking my kids to their tournament for Taekwondo, so I heard my phone buzzing and ringing, and so I figured something was going on, but I didn't realize it had to do with the case because it was so late in the day. It was around close to 5 o'clock, and I didn't really think that late of the day would have any results. But I was beyond happy. I was in tears, literally in tears, holding myself together. And so it was, like a word, I have to say. It was very hard to describe emotions with words. But I was, elated about the decision.
When the state was fighting against you, did you ever want to move out of Texas because of this law?
I know I was on the right side of this fight. So being that said, I didn't think I'm going to run away from this fight. I really wanted to pursue it, not just for me, but for the kids that I service, for my own children, and for everybody in Texas. And so definitely not. I would never run away from something that I know I'm doing the right thing. And when you are fighting for what is right and for justice and equality, regardless of the issue or the people, you're always on the winning side. So I really felt that, that gave me a lot of strength and power to continue.
What is the next step for you?
Hopefully we'll go back to work in the fall because the school year's ended now, being that we're close to May. So there's no need for further evaluations. But I'm hoping in the fall I'm going to go back to work again with Pflugerville ISD and continue my work there, evaluating children with speech language disorders.
I was reading an article saying that, and I don't remember who wrote the bill, but they're saying that it's being misrepresented. Somebody tried to have them sign this document because they were going to be providing Harvey relief.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
According to the representative, it's not being represented properly. What do you say to that?
I recommend everybody to read Judge Pittman's opinion, 56-page opinion. It's quite detailed and insightful, a lot of wisdom, and he mentions, I cannot really give it credit, I'm not even going to try to say what he said, but some things that he mentioned it was flawed. There's a lot of defects in this law, and it just was wrong in so many different levels. So it's not just it was misrepresented, it was just flawed, and it had a lot of issues that they were trying to fix it by just changing who's impacted, and that is just not even making a dent, because the impact was not the issue. It was more than that. It was, a lot of issues involved in it they didn't even try to cover.
I'm curious, given the fact that there's, this legislation, executive orders similar to this exists in, a couple dozen states across the country, and you've become a bit of a face of this effort, and now with this win, I'm wondering, are you going to continue your efforts in some way, pushing forward other legislators to remove laws like this in other states?
I hope, with the result of this bill and deliberation, that it will be something that can influence other laws to be repealed, similar to this, and encourage others to come out and, file lawsuits as well to fight against these kind of bills. And I think it's a start. It is definitely a start. And
Can you go back to the day that you were asked to sign this document? I have no idea how that came to fruition. Mm-hmm. Was it
Sure.
at your school, or how did this come about?
So I originally started work in August, and I signed my original contract that I've been signing now for, annually every year, identical. And then this year, for the first time, following after a few weeks, an addendum was provided to me by my supervisor, and she's, she didn't see it herself before. So she's like, this is brand new, and everybody's required to look at it and sign it. And so I took a week to review it because it was quite lengthy and wordy, a lot of legal jargon, which I'm sure normal people understand a lot of it. And then when I saw that clause in there, I had refused to sign it. And so by refusing to sign it, I wasn't able to go back to work.
That was a stipulation for you not to go to work?
Yes.
That wasn't your choice, that was the choice of whoever was passing
Yes.
you the document.
Basically, yeah.
Was anybody else not signing that at your school, or?
When my colleagues found out, because I was reviewing the contract while I was working, and they're like, what are you looking at? What's going on? And so I showed them the document, and they're like, looked into their own stuff. I'm like, it doesn't affect us because they're full-time employees. So they never seen it before. And they were baffled themselves how this law has anything to do with, treating and evaluating students in elementary school in Texas, at all places, where we're so far away from, the country we're talking about, Israel here. So they were all baffled, and they were confused, and so it was just a surprise for everybody.
And I know you may not be the person to ask, but I'm just curious your take on, what happened with Airbnb and them then
Mm-hmm.
coming out. They were added to the list of, companies that they shouldn't contract with based off of this law. And then, Airbnb did come out and say that they were kind of backtracking their plans to not, put some of their, to let people use in Jewish settlements
Mm-hmm.
to use Airbnb. I'm wondering what your opinion on that is, given now with this legislation happening, are you hoping that maybe things change in that regard?
Yeah. So I know Airbnb was just the most recent thing that they retracted their boycott of the settlements, and people have to understand this is a human issue. You know, if people look more closer into this conflict, understand this has to do with, you know, morality, ethics, and human conditions, and how people are treated. And so I do hope Airbnb goes back and assesses exactly what these settlements represent. They represent stolen land. They represent illegal occupation and confiscation of land, and without being compensated. It's a violation of UN law. So knowing all this stuff, I hope they go back and rethink, and I hope other companies, you know, really think about, well, what's the factual information that's, you know, going on over there.
Have you been in contact with the district, and do you foresee any problems going back?
I have not been in contact with district, but they made it clear, right, Myra, that once this is settled, and they'll be more than happy to give me my contract back, because I've always had a good relationship with Pflugerville Independent School District. I have actually no negative, you know, ill feelings toward them. I've had an amazing relationship with them, and then really everybody's been very supportive and amazing there.
Have you been able to find, like, were you able to find another job in between, or is this a source of income you just didn't know?
You know, I did not find another job because I work with the school districts. So no matter what school district I go to, whether Round Rock or Austin ISD or Leander, I'm going to be confronted with the same law. So I wouldn't have been able to find any work anyways.
How difficult has that been for your family?
You know, thank God I do this actually not for financial issue. I do this really as part of making a difference. I really love my field. I think it's a very rewarding field. I went into it so I can feel satisfied at the end of the day. And I do it really for just the purpose of being able to help people that need a service. And so, I'm grateful that I'd be a part of that.
How excited are you to go back to school next year?
Yeah.
You know, during the hearing, you said you felt like a piece of you was missing because
Yeah.
you weren't able to provide that service for the school district.
Absolutely,
Talk
yeah.
about the feeling of going back and seeing all the students.
It's going to be a huge relief. It'd be a huge relief to be able to go back to service these kids that otherwise the service is not available for them and their needs are not fully met. And also, like I said, you know, going back to being part of making a difference in people's lives. It's a huge, you know, it'll be able to do that. And I'm sure for my colleagues, because they really depended on me for evaluation of Arabic as a home language. I'm sure they will be as well relieved.
So while you were gone, there was no one available
Yeah.
to give that.
To my understanding, they will probably use translators, which is not the same because they don't have the same background knowledge as I do in speech-language pathology. So a lot of times, information may be not delivered correctly or lost in between, and they have to be constantly trained on what to say and careful not to give answers and prompts, which makes it a little bit more challenging for the speech pathologist that's working with a translator versus one that's already has a knowledge of the language and the profession and knows exactly when to prompt, when to hold back, how to cue, and all these other important parts in making a correct evaluation.
I understand that the Attorney General has come out on a statement saying they're looking forward to defending the law on appeal. I just wanted your reaction to that.
Yeah. So we're going to continue whatever path happens. We're going to continue fighting this all the way through. I believe Carolyn Homer, one of my lawyers, said that their goal is to fight these bills in all 26 states to eventually repeal all of them. So whatever it is, we're going to continue. We're not stopping with the fight.